welcome to the picnic.
Thanks very much for having me to the picnic.
It is a pleasure to have you, and I'll tell you why, because I've known about you since you won So You Think You're Funny, which was a little while ago.
It was 4 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and I'm very flattered that you've remembered, because a lot of people haven't.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, is it a thing where kind of you have to do something very soon afterwards?
You have to capitalise on it
be
quickly,
recognised.
otherwise it's the next guy.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of prioritising finishing a university degree that I'm now not using. But I think it was important for me to do that, to go away, grow up a little bit, learn a bit more about myself as a person. Because if you don't know about yourself as a person, how are you meant to be a comedian?
Exactly. Very wise words. Where did you study?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure about that, but it sort of makes sense.
What did you do? Where did you study?
I did French and Russian at Oxford.
My God.
And when I arrived, I was very, very keen to be a diplomat, a foreign correspondent, a translator, one of the above. And then in my first term, I did a stand-up gig at a sort of uni new act night. And within about a term or two, the marks were slipping, and I'd become very keen to do stand-up instead. And then So You Think You're Funny was at the end of my first year. I did a full month at the Edinburgh Fringe, and then so by that point I'd become really sure that I wanted to sort of try it afterwards, but there was a long way still to go.
Excellent. And this is your first stand-up show?
This is my first solo hour.
Yeah, because you have been up in kind of double acts with...
Yeah, there was those split bills and group sort of package shows, slowly building the amount of stage time until ready for the full hour experience, which is kind of the only other chance you get. I reckon you get one chance in your first year to be the guy with the best 8 minutes, and then you get one chance a few years later, or 1 year later or whatever, to be the person with the best first hour. And those are two, because everyone likes new things.
True, but do you inevitably think that your best hour is going to be when you're really experienced?
Yes, I would hope so. I've put a lot of time and a lot of thought into this one, and obviously with being your first one, it's allowed to be a bit more of a summation of everything so far. I mean, what I mean by that is there's some really, really old stuff in there, but equally I'd be really depressed if I knew that this was going to be the best thing I'd ever do, because it's not great. It's and I'm excited. I mean, it's sort of easy to say it now, but I'm excited about going home from Edinburgh and knowing, right, in 11 months I've got to have something completely new.
And are you definitely set on that kind of goal of Edinburgh? So Edinburgh's here, and you're very conscious of, it's going to be a yearly thing. You're going to come up with a new hour.
I hope so. I mean, I know it's the big sort of cliche, but it is the best marker point for comics of where you are at every year. It's the exam season of it all. It's a lovely place to be in terms of just seeing everyone and seeing everyone else's shows, and you kind of feel that you earn the right to be there by having a new hour of comedy at it. I don't think that I will, if there's such a patronising thing as an Edinburgh act, I'm not sure I'll ever be that, because there are some people whose speciality is the shows that they bring to the Fringe, whereas I hope I'll be doing stand-up gigs throughout the year, and as a fairly sort of whiny, waffly, autobiographical stand-up, my stuff is much more adaptable to just go and do in clubs and behind pubs and stuff than in my annual 1 hour. Do you sort of know what I mean? You get some acts who are just huge and critically acclaimed and draw sort of hundreds of people every night to Edinburgh Fringe, but you sort of go, what do they do? What could they do for the rest of the year? Whereas I'm boring and versatile.
No, so tell me a little bit about your show, because it's called Binoculars.
Binoculars.
Yeah, and does it have a kind of big theme behind it?
It doesn't have a big theme behind it. I'm not even going to try and sell a theme to it's all the young male 22-year-old stand-up themes. Oh, growing up, being a bit nervous at school as a teenager, not being able to talk to women, my parents. It's really, really cliched stuff. And I hope that I can give enough of a spin on it with the odd little bit of wordplay or whatever to elevate me above my peers. But I just don't think I do. It's difficult because there's there is that thing of it'd be much more interesting. I think it'd be much more interesting or more easily marketable if I had a niche of some kind or some really particular thing to talk about. But there was this sort of thing of I'd much rather do sort of banal topics, but sort of I'm not really selling it, but you know what? But you know, if you're 22, then that is what you know, is you sort of growing up and picking through the sort of weird formative experiences of your life so far and how you came to be. And I think anyone trying to reach too far beyond that and do sort of incredibly deep, mature stuff or political stuff, whatever, you can often see how much they've overstretched themselves. So while I hope to be doing something more interesting in years to come, I think I don't take too much shame in, you know, what a young male 22-year-old stand-up show this young male 22-year-old stand-up show is, as it were.
I see. And how's the pace going? Because people talk about how it's so full-on Edinburgh. Do you think you've kind of settled into the rhythm of it all right? You're kind of
the sort of everyday full month. Just about, I think. I've got a very nice flat, and that's, I think, so much more important than having lived. Last year I was in Edinburgh with an improv troupe, and there were 15 of us living in a 10-person flat, and the rooms were prioritised by senior members of the troupe, couples, and then women, all of which are very good reasons to prioritise people. But there was just this one horrible room which was all the young, unimportant, single men of the group, like 6 of us in a room for 2. And it just, you never quite had your own space, and it was fine because last year I was just doing that and doing a stand-up show on the Free Fringe with my friend Liam, and it didn't matter so much. But you do need a regime. If you're doing an hour a day and it's important, you have to have a sort of regime. So you've got a nice flat enmarchment, get up, leisurely breakfast, shower.
You've got your safe place.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll frequently just go back there straight after the show if things haven't gone well, pick up a 4-pack of beers, drink them alone, watch a bit of Arrested Development, which I've just got into, which is fantastic. It's really good comedy. And you don't have to, you can sort of pick and choose whereas the other flat last year was right in the centre of the festival, practically by the Pleasance Courtyard. So it's so convenient for getting to places, but you've got to be able to feel that you can escape Edinburgh. And I say that as someone who loves the Fringe and loves seeing people. It's nice to be able to take a step back if you need to.
Well, it's a month, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
If you're here for 3 days, then you want to experience it for long.
Pack it all in, but
you've got to get a pace up, like you say.
Exactly.
And tell me just about your voice. When did that go?
Oh no, I wasn't sure how obvious it was, but I'm really a few days ago it started to, and then it picked up again yesterday, and it's gone again today. I'm really sorry. It was just random whether you got me on by showtime by 6 p.m. which when the show is. I've usually drunk enough fluids to kind of get myself back again. I don't think anyone in the audience picked up on it too much. I was, and I hate people saying I was described in a review because it's so neurotic and unfashionable and desperate to read your own reviews. But I was described in a review as voice constantly on the verge of breaking. So that might have been the croak, or it might have been just an ingrained lack of full puberty.
But I think it sounds like someone who's been working. I think that's good.
Well, you've sold that really generously, but it sounds like someone who's been drinking and smoking. And I've tried not to do too much, but you lurk around the Pleasance Dome central area at sort of 11:30, waiting to meet someone before you go home or whatever. And you can look at your watch 5 minutes later, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And again, as I say, most nights I'd much rather just go to the flat, couple of tinnies, watch AD. But I've been suckered against my will, peer pressured into a couple of big nights, and that's what you can hear in my voice. And I'm sorry.
It's quite all right.
Okay.
Tell me when your show is, where it is.
It's at 6 p.m. in the Pleasance Courtyard, and it is called Binoculars, which is a boring title and one I slightly regret. But it's sort of referenced in the show, and then you'd sort of go, oh, well, that just about makes sense.
Well, that's good enough.
Yeah, oh, well,
I'll give you a handshake.
Thank you very much.
Have
for
a biscuit
me.
if you want one. Of course
you
can.
They're not
anything.
Sort of mainly decor.
They're for you. They're for you.
That's very kind.
Freshly today.
I just ruined the symmetry of that bowl, but there you go.